You don't even realize how much holds together because of your presence. You think your silence goes unnoticed. You think your absence doesn't shake the room. But chosen one, when you disappear, everything falls apart. And deep down, they know it. You are the glue, the grounding, the unspoken force that stabilizes the very spaces you walk into. Not because you try, but because of who you are. When you withdraw, the shift is immediate. The laughter dulls, the energy dips, the harmony cracks. Because you were never just around. You were the anchor holding it all together. They may not say it out loud. They may pretend they're unaffected. But watch what happens when you go quiet. When you pull your energy back. When you stop texting first, stop showing up, stop pouring into everyone else without being refilled. Suddenly, the people who once took you for granted start to feel the emptiness. The vibration changes. The conversations dry up. The chaos creeps in. Because your energy wasn't just present, it was sacred. It was healing. And they didn't recognize it until it was gone. You weren't just a friend, a partner, a sibling, a coworker. You were the light. You brought peace when they were spiraling. You brought reason when things were falling apart. You were the calm in the storm, the quiet strength that carried everyone through, even when you were crumbling inside. But nobody saw the weight you held. They only noticed how much better things felt when you were around. And now, they feel the void. When you disappear, things unravel, not out of revenge, not because you want them to fail, but because you were the divine balance. Your presence brought spiritual order. You set the tone. You uplifted the room without even opening your mouth. And when you stop showing up, the energy speaks louder than any exit. It hurts, doesn't it? To be so essential and so invisible at the same time. To be the one holding everyone together and yet feel like no one ever holds you. To pour so much of yourself into people who only recognize your value once you're gone. But this is the path of the chosen. Your impact is never loud, but it's lasting. And your absence is louder than any presence they've ever felt. Don't confuse their silence for peace. They are unsettled without you. They miss your voice, your insight, your wisdom, your warmth, even if their pride won't let them admit it. They thought you were just a convenience, but now they realize you were a covering, a protector, a spiritual shield. And without you, they're exposed. When you walked away, you weren't abandoning them. You were protecting yourself. You were reclaiming your energy, refusing to be drained by people who only knew how to take. And even though it hurt to go, you knew you had to. Because staying would have cost you your peace, your health, your mind. You didn't disappear to hurt them. You disappeared to save yourself. Now, they're seeing it. The relationships aren't flowing. The drama has returned. The connections feel shallow. And the crazy part, you weren't doing anything special. You were just being you. But you is powerful. You is divine. You is rare. And now that you're no longer there to absorb the chaos, they're forced to face it themselves. Don't second-guess your decision. You were led to pull back for a reason. God removed you from those environments to remind everyone, and you, that your presence is a gift. You're not just another person. You're a spiritual vessel. When you enter a room, atmospheres shift. When you leave, everything reverts back to disorder. That's not ego. That's evidence. And maybe this is what needed to happen. Maybe they needed to lose you to understand the value you brought. Maybe your distance is the lesson. Maybe your silence is the mirror. Because some people only wake up when the light goes out. And you were that light. Steady, warm, undeniable. You've always been the one who showed up, who fixed things, who made sure everyone was okay, even when you weren't. But now the tables have turned. You're not pouring from an empty cup anymore. You're not explaining your worth. You're not begging to be seen. You've reclaimed your power, and that's why things are shaking. Let them sit with it. Let them feel what life is like without you. Not out of punishment, but clarity. Because your absence is the revelation. It's the reset. It's the divine reminder that peace, love, loyalty, healing, all of that was coming from you. And now, they're scrambling to replicate something they never truly appreciated. This is the season where your energy speaks for itself, where you no longer need to explain your exit, where you don't chase people who couldn't see you. Because now, they see everything. They see how dry things feel, how nothing flows like it did, how empty the conversations are, how quiet their soul feels without your presence. You were the divine spark, the balance, the calm in the spiritual war they didn't even know they were fighting. And now that you're gone, they're realizing it was never about what you did. It was who you are. And you're stepping into peace, into alignment, into rooms where your value doesn't need to be proven, where you're not the only one giving, healing, fixing, where you're fed too, where you're seen, celebrated, protected, without having to shrink yourself. You didn't disappear to be dramatic. You disappeared to be restored. You were tired of being the strong one while bleeding inside. You were tired of being the peace in a room full of chaos. And now, you're learning that your energy is not to be wasted. That not everyone deserves access to your light. That just because you can hold others together doesn't mean you have to. You are not selfish for pulling back. You are wise. You are obedient. You are finally choosing you. And that decision, that choice to retreat, to recharge, to refocus, that's what's making everything around you fall apart. Because they were never prepared to stand on their own. They relied on your strength more than they admitted. But now, they'll grow, or they'll crumble. Either way, your job is to heal, rise, and move forward. They never thought your absence would echo louder than your presence. But it does. It stirs their spirit. It interrupts their comfort. It reminds them of a truth they refused to see. You were never just there. You were holding it all together. And now that you're gone, there's no denying it anymore. The drama has returned. The confusion has increased. The energy is heavy again. You didn't bring the chaos. You absorbed it. You didn't cause the tension. You calmed it. But the moment you stopped being the spiritual buffer, the cracks started to show. You thought you were just being there, but you were shielding them from their own self-destruction. Chosen one, this was never about ego. This was about divine order. You were placed in people's lives not just to love them, but to cover them. Spiritually, emotionally, energetically. And now that the covering has been removed, they are exposed. Their own wounds, their own shadows, their own instability. It's all coming to the surface, not because you caused it, but because you were the one suppressing it by your very presence. You didn't leave to prove a point. You left to preserve your peace. You were tired of being a constant for people who only showed up when they needed something. Tired of being available for those who were never truly present for you. You were tired of being spiritually exhausted in the name of loyalty. And now, you're learning that distance is a gift. That peace is a power. That walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Because now that you're not carrying their burdens, your back is straight. Your spirit is lighter. Your vision is clear. You are no longer dimming your light to make others comfortable. You're no longer setting yourself on fire to keep people warm. When you disappeared, things didn't just fall apart around them. Things aligned for you. You started hearing God clearer. You started healing faster. You started feeling lighter. Because their chaos was never your responsibility. You were helping people who didn't even want to help themselves. And it drained you. But now, your absence has become your superpower. Your silence has become your boundary. And your peace, that's your new protection. They're noticing the shift. They see your glow. They feel your energy has been reclaimed. And whether they admit it or not, they miss you. They miss the ease you brought, the insight, the way your presence made everything feel possible. But what they're realizing too late is that your presence was not a right. It was a privilege. And privileges can be revoked when not respected. You've always been the light in dark rooms, the calm in chaotic places, the one who listens deeply, loves purely, and shows up without conditions. But that chapter is closing. Because now you understand. Being chosen means being selective. Being divine means setting boundaries. And being powerful means knowing when to walk away. It's not that you stopped loving them. It's that you started loving yourself. You woke up to the imbalance. You saw that you were the only one fighting for connections that were one-sided. You recognized that your presence was healing everyone but breaking you. And when you finally disappeared, you didn't just vanish. You ascended. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them create their stories about why you left. You don't owe explanations to anyone who never tried to understand you when you were right there. They didn't ask how you were when you were showing up for them every single time. They didn't notice you were bleeding while they were cheering for themselves. So now, let them sit with the silence. Because silence reveals everything. And when they feel the weight of your absence, they will begin to see the depth of your soul.